Here's why Otto Hightower betrayed his king by forcing his resignation. The throne room was silent. The air was heavy, charged with betrayal and tension. King Viserys I Targaryen, a man of peace, a man desperate for unity, sat upon the Iron Throne, his crown tilted slightly, his face weary from years of political warfare. And before him stood Otto Hightower, the hand of the king, the man he once trusted more than any other. In that moment, the bond between them shattered. Because Otto Hightower, the man sworn to serve his king, had done something far more dangerous than open rebellion. He had forced the king's own hand. He had driven Viserys to a breaking point, until resignation became the only path left. But what would drive a man as cunning, calculating, and politically astute as Otto Hightower to betray his king, a king who had elevated him, trusted him, and relied on him for so many years? This is the story of how ambition disguised as loyalty turned one of the realm's most powerful alliances into one of its most devastating betrayals. And to understand why Otto Hightower betrayed King Viserys, we must first understand who Otto truly was. Otto Hightower was not born a warrior. He was not a dragonlord or a conqueror. He was a man of intellect, patience, and relentless ambition. Coming from the ancient yet politically shrewd House Hightower of Aldtown, Otto's ascent to power was built not through bloodshed, but through strategy. His mind was his sword, and his tongue his shield. When King Jaehaerys I's rule neared its end, the Hightowers were already one of the most influential families in Westeros, wealthy, connected, and steeped in the faith of the Seven. But what Otto understood, perhaps better than anyone else, was that knowledge and proximity to power were the true keys to influence. When he became Hand of the King under Jaehaerys, Otto cemented himself as the realm's most capable statesman. But with the death of Jaehaerys came a new era, the era of Viserys I Targaryen. Viserys, known for his gentleness and diplomacy, was everything Otto needed him to be: kind-hearted, trusting, and malleable. A perfect king for a man who preferred to rule from behind the throne. From the very start of Viserys's reign, Otto's ambitions were clear, not only to serve the realm, but to shape it in the image of House Hightower. But every great manipulator knows that power must be disguised as loyalty. Otto positioned himself as the king's closest confidant, whispering counsel in Viserys's ear while slowly weaving a web of influence across the court. He encouraged the king's decisions, soothed his doubts, and subtly guided him toward choices that strengthened Otto's position, particularly when tragedy struck. When Queen Aemma Arryn died in childbirth, Viserys was devastated. The king's grief left him vulnerable, and Otto saw his opportunity. In a move that would change the course of Westerosi history, Otto sent his daughter, Alicent, to comfort the widowed king. She was young, kind, and carefully instructed by her father to charm him through empathy and warmth. To Otto, Alicent's marriage to Viserys wasn't just a match. It was a move on the board, a political gambit to bind House Hightower to the Iron Throne itself. And it worked. Alicent married Viserys, giving birth to Aegon, Helaena, and Aemond, children who carried both Targaryen and Hightower blood. From that moment, Otto Hightower was no longer just the hand of the king. He was the grandfather of potential heirs to the Iron Throne. But Otto's ambition didn't stop there. He knew that as long as Princess Rhaenyra, Viserys's firstborn, remained heir, his family's future would never be secure. So he began planting seeds of doubt. He reminded the court, and the king, that Rhaenyra's rule would fracture the realm. He spoke of the chaos that might come if a woman were crowned queen, how the lords of Westeros might reject her, how her children could never truly unite the kingdom. And quietly, he began to promote the idea that Aegon, his grandson, was the rightful heir. This wasn't open rebellion. Otto was far too intelligent for that. This was politics, subtle, patient, and deadly. Each whisper, each conversation, each carefully chosen word was designed to shift the narrative in his favor. Viserys, however, was not blind. He began to sense that Otto's loyalty wasn't entirely pure. He realized that the hand who was meant to serve him was serving himself, and that Otto's greatest ambition wasn't to preserve the king's rule, but to replace his legacy with one of his own making. The tension between them grew as court politics became poisoned by whispers of succession. Rhaenyra was Viserys's chosen heir, publicly declared, formally recognized. But Otto refused to accept it. He watched as Rhaenyra grew close to Esser Harwin Strong, her reputation becoming the subject of scandal. He used those whispers as weapons, suggesting that her children were not legitimate, that the bloodline of the realm was at risk. To Otto, truth was irrelevant, perception was everything. And the more he painted Rhaenyra as unfit to rule, the more he forced Viserys into a corner. Otto's betrayal wasn't the kind that came with swords drawn or armies raised. It was a slow suffocation, a constant erosion of trust and authority. Viserys began to see that every action Otto took, from Alicent's marriage to the manipulation of rumors, was designed not to serve the crown, but to secure it for Otto's bloodline. And then came the breaking point. Viserys, weary of the endless tension between his wife and his daughter, realized that Otto's influence was the root of it all. Every time he sought peace, Otto whispered of division. Every time he tried to protect his daughter's honor, Otto reminded him of her supposed shame. The king could no longer tell if Otto was advising him as a hand, or as a father and conspirator. The truth was clear. Otto Hightower was no longer serving the crown, he was reshaping it. And so, with heavy heart and visible regret, King Viserys made one of the most difficult decisions of his reign. He dismissed Otto Hightower as Hand of the King. It was a moment that shocked the court. The man who had stood beside Viserys for years, who had guided him through turmoil and grief, was suddenly cast out, stripped of title, stripped of power. But make no mistake, Otto's resignation was not a defeat. It was a calculated retreat. Because Otto knew something Viserys didn't, that the seeds of division he had sown were already blooming. Let's pause for a moment and analyze Otto's true motives. Was his betrayal driven purely by ambition? Or did he genuinely believe he was acting in the realm's best interest? In Otto's mind, these two ideas were the same. He believed that Rhaenyra's succession would plunge the Seven Kingdoms into war, that her rule would tear apart the delicate political fabric of Westeros. And perhaps he wasn't wrong. History proved him right when the Dance of the Dragons erupted. But the question is, did he truly act for the good of the realm, or for the good of House Hightower? His every action, marrying his daughter to the king, elevating his grandson as a rival heir, spreading rumors about Rhaenyra, suggests that his true loyalty was to his own blood. Otto's betrayal was not the impulsive act of a traitor. It was the cold, deliberate move of a strategist who believed the ends justified the means. After his dismissal, Otto returned to Aldtown, but he didn't fade into obscurity. Far from it, he began to rebuild his network of allies, lords who feared a female monarch, nobles loyal to the faith of the Seven, and anyone who could be persuaded that Rhaenyra's claim was a danger to the realm. Otto understood that while he had lost his title, he hadn't lost his influence. He still had Alicent, now queen, at court. Through her, he could continue to pull strings, shaping policy and perception from afar. And when tragedy struck once again, when Lionel Strong, Viserys's new hand, perished in the mysterious fire at Harrenhal, Otto saw his opportunity to return. With the court in turmoil, Alicent pleaded for her father's return, insisting that no one could serve the king as faithfully as Otto Hightower. Viserys, exhausted and surrounded by chaos, relented. And so, Otto came back, older, wiser, and more dangerous than ever.